at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. It's 4 p.m. Mountain Time, and that means it's time to talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I am your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social media pages we're up on these days, facebook.com/Talk El Paso, the Talk El Paso channel over on YouTube, Twitter at Talk El Paso, or twitch.tv, Andrew J. Polk. However you may be tuning in, whatever works for you is the right place for you to be as we continue our mission to, have live local talk radio here in the Borderland, because it's not guaranteed. Someone actually has to do it, and I'm very honored, privileged, and happy to be the one doing it here, but also to talk about not just a trophy put on the wall, to use it, to talk about the things that we have affecting us here in the Borderland, because no one else is going to talk about those things like we do, and there's a bunch of things going on that are affecting us here to varying degrees, including, of course, what happens now that after it was about a 9-hour session of City Council, at the very least 9 hours more or less just on that subject by most accounts, including from our news partners over at KFOX 14, to end up voting down the downtown arena plan. Though more complications may come after that, including what the heck comes next, as we have Ida Beza Gardner chiming in there. Hello to you as well. And Austin Redfern, Happy New Year to you as well. Definitely a lot of resolutions and things to delve into as we confront 2023 head on. I don't think I've put any of our titles or labels on the show here 2022 so far, so I'll count that as a good start to the year. In any case, hope you're having the same luck with your checks, documents, or whatever else have you so far. Remember, it's a 3 at the end, no longer a 2. In any case, what's going on with the downtown arena and what comes next? That kind of big question, because the item was literally labeled abandoning the arena, but, there's some numbers to go through, there's some possibilities, and a whole lot more. But then, of course, also, as was mentioned at the top of the hour news break right there, the potential for a presidential visit to the border, if not exactly the borderland. Frankly, open invitation still continues. I'll tell you what, dedicate the entire 2-hour show if President Biden wants to come on, and we will delve into those issues here. Again, not something I'm going to hold my breath on, but still a visit to the border, something we've been talking about for a minute, even as there are more evolving situations and things going on in our region, more specifically involving the border, including some new interesting analysis and other things like that. And yes, the kerfuffle in Congress also does still continue with some, not exactly local, regional contributions, and what that means for some of those laws we've talked about, or maybe not actually involving the laws at this rate here. I'm sure there'll eventually be a Speaker of the House. There kind of has to be, but how this bodes for this upcoming session of Congress, that's a whole another kettle of fish. As we also have Flaco Jimenez. Howdy to you too, as we got the cowboy hat emoji going on there. Appreciate that. And also dropping those likes and reacts. Flaco Jimenez, Ida Beza Gardner, Robbie Flores, Monica Cervantes, and James Holmes. Appreciate all the things that do that. And James Holmes saying, you would never do that. Needs a teleprompter. I've managed to muddle my way through by just staring at the camera that I got in front of me, so who knows? Conversations are different. Maybe I'll pull up my best Barbara Walters impression, though. I just realized I made myself sad. Rest in peace to her as well. And RJ saying 2 hours with a, let's just call it a break in the middle there. Yeah, just open invitation. I would absolutely extend and accept that invitation being brought here. James Holmes saying, I'm good. I think we'd make the best of it that we can. I have absolutely no no reasonable belief this will happen. The closest I would say that anyone in El Paso has really gotten, at least in my time and tenure here, was back when I was at Channel 7. Estela Casas got like 5 minutes with President Obama at the time, and that was, some regional questions got to get asked, but essentially it was an interesting kind of reverse press junket in which all of them were brought to D.C. from local markets to, I want to say it was Affordable Care Act, aka Obamacare, focused at that point in time, with kind of and you get to ask a question of the president and, make your, it felt a little patronizing, I'm not going to lie, because it kind of was a subtext of, and make your local journalist career by saying you spoke to the president. Yeah, if that's your kind of thing. I've got the claim to fame of having appeared for a good 2 seconds on The Daily Show back in the day when I was still in DC and doing those things. So, yeah, and Eric von Holstein-Rathel, we're doing the double thumbs up today here, and I think that's supposed to be the USA, but always, sometimes the emojis don't come through, or the images in the emoji style don't come through. Anyway, if you're not worried about those because you want to hear the radio talk here, don't worry, we're still doing that. It's just, I appreciate the interaction that comes with people making good faith arguments or points in the comments there, and not just seeking to beat people up, because I mean, if there's good reason you want to talk about the points, and there's a lot to get into today, so let's dive straight in. Again, specifically, a lot of reporting going on as of this hour on sticking with our news partners there at KFOX 14. Biden says he intends to visit U.S.-Mexico border, specifically that there is going to be a meeting next week in Mexico City with leaders of Canada and Mexico, probably going to be, I mean, there's a lot on that agenda as well. Probably going to be some discussion of the, I keep thinking of it as NAFTA 2.0, but was it the U.S., Mexico, Canada agreement, USMCA, something along those lines? Again, NAFTA 2.0 is the best way I can think of it, the deal that was inked during the Trump administration. So it's not clear where he's going. It's not exactly on the flight plan for El Paso between there, but I mean, we've had presidential visits that have happened previously in this area, and even in recent years, last term of office specifically. So it's certainly possible, and there's the infrastructure to support it. I am sure they can definitely land Air Force One over at Biggs. That's not even a problem. But whether or not they actually do it, and I guess I'm of two minds on maybe not even just the logistical concerns, but of course the political concerns abound when we're talking about this, whether or not wants to be shown doing something in a hotbed. Okay, if there's going to be policy, this is my called shot here. So apropos of nothing besides my readings, and so tell me what you think about it. If there's going to be new policy put forth, which I guess maybe not totally would be reasonable to go before a meeting with Mexico, maybe if there were to be, say, a return trip after that, maybe. But if there's an intention to do new policy, I would think that a visit to El Paso, okay, whatever you may think about the current administration, just politically speaking, political tactically, strategy, anyway, I think that would make sense to come here saying, look at this problem, we're going to fix this, and kind of put the brand on it. Now, that's why I see this as a maybe even not then, because coming here and kind of taking, well, there's a level of ownership that comes with it that previously that only, Department of Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas has been doing the visits here, whether want to call him, guinea pig, whipping boy, whatever, for the administration, whatever it comes to. What kind of policy has been floated? There was the whole pillars speech that Mayorkas made. Let's just call it last year for now. It all is a blur, but definitely was in 2022. I say that confidently about what they're working on and what they want to see. So if they're actually going to then be like, okay, this is our policy package we're going to put forth and want to see either done executively, or, and this is where it'll then also dovetail into the what the heck is going on with Congress right now, because that, of course, would have to be a portion going through Congress, that is, of anything to be passed. So, okay, maybe I'm going to call it slightly less than even odds. And Reverend Holstein-Rathel saying we're living the Biden policy. Okay, I mean, I get what you're saying there, but I'm going to say if they're actually going to introduce policy, then I could see a visit to our area, specifically the current hotspot when it comes to these issues. But I don't think that'll be necessarily totally possible. I think that'll probably go to a different area, probably a photo op, getting surveying of the border. Again, there's a bunch of different legal or political, more accurately, strategy that could go with that. So, yeah, I don't necessarily, I wouldn't hold my breath on him actually coming to this area, but it actually coming through, at least a visit to the border, let's call it movement at the very least. And again, so the part that involves Congress, we'll get into that a little bit later, because we've got to take that first break of this hour right now, not being joined today by Estefania Cipher. And unfortunately, they have her on their desk today, so not as available as she usually is. Holiday season still in swing, I guess, and all, but I'm sure we'll be visiting with her in future weeks as we do, and our news partners there over at KFOX 14. But going to be breaking down what happened. We were talking about it. It was going on during our show yesterday. So now that the vote, after about 9 hours of debate, went through, what has happened with the downtown arena, the multipurpose Performing Arts and Entertainment Center, MPC, which I'm not quite sure how you get that acronym. Anyway, we'll talk about that, what has happened with it, what the vote is, and what the speculation is anyway about what happens now. So, of course, you are tuned into Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I am your host, Andrew J. Polk. After this break, talking more about these things and how they affect us here in the Borderland. So stay tuned for Talk El Paso after this break here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Don't go anywhere.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
Watch for a crash on Gateway West at Lee Trevino. An accident there is blocking the right lane. Expect some minor delays. George Dieter northbound at Vista del Sol. There's an injury accident. Take Pelicano or Lee Trevino to get around the slowing. Global Reach is already slow southbound from the spur down to Montana. 29-minute delays. And Zaragoza northbound from Sunfire up to Edgemere. Stop and go traffic northbound. And 7-minute delays. Kerry Edwards, El Paso traffic.
Winning $1,000 incites all kinds of emotions.
Are you kidding? No way.
What to do with it is up to you.
We're going to Key West, that's it. What are you, nuts? We're going to Atlantic City.
Listen for your chance to win $1,000 with inflation compensation.
Listen for your chance to win $1,000 every hour from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Enter the nationwide keyword at ktsmradio.com for your chance to win. Brought to you by Sunland Park, Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, where buying a car is fun.
This report is sponsored by the Crohn's and Colitis Foundation. The Crohn's and Colitis Foundation has been at the forefront of inflammatory bowel disease research and care for over 50 years. Learn more about research, education, and support at Crohn'sColitisFoundation.org.
On a busy construction site, things can be misinterpreted. Bring in the bulldozer can sound a lot like,
building looks mediocre.
Designs need a do-over.
or even,
Install a roller coaster? Okay.
be on the same page at every stage with Autodesk, from the designers to the field crew to the owner of the finished building. Autodesk Construction Cloud gives everyone clarity. Now, can we actually bring in the bulldozer?
Attend the Las Cruces Gun Show this weekend, January 7th and 8th at Las Cruces Convention Center, 680 East University Avenue, Las Cruces, New Mexico. See dealers selling the finest in modern guns, antique guns, custom knives, scopes, a huge selection of ammo, reloading supplies, and much more. Buy, sell, and trade at the Las Cruces Gun Show this weekend, January 7th and 8th at Las Cruces Convention Center, 680 East University Avenue, Las Cruces. Get $2 off admission. Go to azgunradio.com. Parking is free.
Cash Blitz scratch tickets from the Texas Lottery are here. Play for a shot at top prizes from $5,000 to $1 million. Plus, enter to win a VIP iHeart trip and more at TexasLottery.com.
Hey, Texas, did you know that individuals living with serious mental illness are more susceptible to severe COVID-19? Visit covidvaccine.texas.gov for vaccination resources to help reduce the risk and keep yourself and your fellow Texans informed and protected this holiday season. Stay healthy, Texas.
Make a New Year's resolution that's easy to keep. Help protect your identity and finances with LifeLock Identity Theft Protection. LifeLock detects identity threats you may miss on your own. And if you become a victim, LifeLock will work to fix it. No one can prevent all identity theft or monitor all transactions at all businesses. But LifeLock by Norton makes it easy to help protect yourself. Join now and save up to 25% off your first year. Go to LifeLock.com. Use promo code NEWS.
El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live, streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social media pages we're up on these days, facebook.com/Talk El Paso, more or less the main one, where most of the comments come anyway. But you can also find us over on other Facebook pages, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. And this is not to say we're ignoring the on-air audience. You're in your car, doing anything like that. Terrestrial radio is the more overarching, it's a little bit aggrandized, but I guess that's because we got satellite radio now. So in any case, you're listening to us, and that works for you. You're in the right place as we continue our mission to talking out the points about what's going on here. And oh, God bless it. If that's really what you think you're doing there, pointing out moral and intellectual bankruptcy of your ideology, it sounds like you want to just beat up on people. Let me just make something clear here. I've encouraged some of our commenters repeatedly to talk about the issues, you're just here to literally pick fights with people, you're going to be excused. And that's all I'm going to say on the matter there. Anyway, some other comments coming in. RJ saying nothing happens reminds me of 20th century El Paso. Improvements not welcome. Tourists, what are those? I think there's a couple of issues that can be built into that, including, of course, what's going on with the arena. So that has, of course, been, well, frankly, we're just speculating what was going on yesterday during the program, because the debates, the public comments, the actual decision-making on it took about, by most accounts, 9 hours yesterday in El Paso City Council to actually come to a decision that ultimately ended up resulting in the, well, it gets the abandonment, but okay, they'll go with the article title from our news partners there at KFOX 14. El Paso City leaders vote to, quote, reevaluate and repurpose, end quote, funds for downtown arena project. So yeah, it took quite a while. So the vote, I do ended up coming down to 4-3 with Reps Alexandra Anello, Joe Molinar, Art Fierro, and Chris Canales voting yes to abandon the project. And Representatives Cassandra Hernandez, Isabel Salcido, and Henry Rivera voted no against reallocating the funding, with new City Rep Brian Kennedy abstaining from the vote. He elaborated apparently later on that he was, again, according to our news partners there, he released the following statement about abstaining from the vote. Regretfully, okay, quote, regretfully, I was advised I should recuse myself on today's arena item because of what this was deemed to be a potential conflict of interest by the city attorney. Out of abundance of caution to ensure that this critical vote by council was not tainted in any way, I abstained. My thanks to the many individuals from the community who waited hours to make public comment. I'm very proud of my fellow council members for the thoughtful discussion had by all. I think that's probably, this is me kind of guessing / surmising a little bit, given that Brian Kennedy previous involved with like the County Coliseum and the El Paso Sports Commission, those kind of things, that there could have been seen as a, well, as a, he wants to, maybe if not financially tied, to prefer previous ones. Again, that's just my reading between the lines here. But in any case, he did, of course, abstain from the vote. So any of those issues should not be taken as part of this. But so with the actual now end of it, I mean, there was an interesting presentation that we did discuss yesterday showing the multiple different options, well, 3 different options that were coming down to if the project were to continue on, with the total amounts roughly about $143 million to $416 million for the different options and the way they put it, and the budget that was also put forth by the city about what essentially was left in the amount of money, about $154 million from the actual bond amounts approved by voters in 2012. So yeah, we've been doing this for little over a decade now, these discussions and debates, or at the very least the votes on it. Anyway, as part of the larger 2012 quality of life bond. So this was its own portion of it. So about $154 million was left out of the roughly $180 million that was initially approved. Now, the way bonds work, all that money isn't necessarily at the same time. So there's issuances. It's super complicated. Ask your financial advisor if you want a really long and very sleep-inducing discussion about it. But so the idea of actually it being moved forward now, there's a couple of different ways that it's being, at the very least, talked about. Of course, the item on the agenda, among other things, one of the sub-items under it was abandoning the arena project, which is, I mean, fairly provocative language, I have to say, because it's not just a, well, we'll reevaluate, reallocate funds. It's a, nope, we're done with it, gone forever. That's the kind of implication I get from it anyway. But there's been interesting back and forth. I want to say it was Representative Anello posting on her social media, if I'm remembering this correctly, saying that, no, this is not the death of the MPC, the Multi-Purpose Performing Arts and Entertainment Center. So I'm not quite sure. The Multi-Purpose Center, I guess, is what that one ends up being. But arena, for short, that they might be looking to, I guess, falling under the auspices of reevaluating and reallocating would be that they could reevaluate it for somewhere else, put it somewhere else. I mean, that was one of my, not exactly gripes, but logistical things. I mean, okay, ever since they built the ballpark in downtown, whether you like it or not, the traffic was definitely interesting. I'm definitely going to put it that way. I mean, there were better ways. I mean, you could kind of get Paisano to hit the parking garage there. That's at the bottom of the ramp there at, what street was it? I'm forgetting offhand. But so, I mean, there's possibilities, a way to do it. But I just kind of thought, logistically speaking, that cramming in right next to it another major thing in which there, I mean, potentially could be things happening simultaneously, just conceivable possible future if this thing had gone forward, leading to just, I mean, downtown, the real problem with El Paso's downtown and kind of a larger meta-analysis I've thought about here is that El Paso's downtown developed like fully in that kind of awkward period of history between when essentially horse and buggy, horse-drawn animal power was the primary mode of transportation than automobiles. It's why there's not a whole lot of parking, like underground parking. I mean, I can think of one offhand at the Paso del Norte Hotel. And even then, that's kind of a lot of either surface level parking lots or above ground. So that's kind of my case in point there. And so the streets aren't really geared towards a lot of traffic is kind of my contention there. So the idea of having too much right crammed next to each other, I mean, even give it a little bit of breathing room, frankly, I would still maintain the contention that I would be fine with it being in downtown. Just follow the precedent that you set when it came to actually city council, is that if you want a new big thing downtown publicly financed, you got to blow up City Hall for it. I mean, that's what they did with the downtown ballpark. So, hey, just follow the precedent that you set. And then frankly, you run into the bigger problems there when you end up that way with having to deal with the kind of on the back end of what is now, what's the way we call it? I mean, it's effectively City Hall, but it's like El Paso building number 1, because they got the multiple buildings that are encompass all city government now. Anyway, point is that on the back end of that, you go run straight into the back end of the rail yards, and the dealing with the railroads is like dealing with a semi-hostile, not quite foreign government. Okay, maybe I'm not giving them quite enough credit, but essentially there is not much implication of them not playing ball. They can just be like, yeah, whatever, go suck an egg. We don't have to do much of anything. Putting words in their mouth here, but you get the point that the railroad does what the railroad wants to, and if your plans happen to align with it, so much the better, but there's not a whole lot of carrot and or stick applicable to that, is my entire understanding of the whole damn thing. So yeah, that may have had its own logistical and political nightmares going with it, but hey, I think that at least it would have moved it away a little bit. If you're like bound and determined to have this thing downtown, at least it's not immediately next to it. As RJ saying ball game and concert paralyzed downtown headlines. I mean, I can see them being written there about how things like gridlock in downtown for umpteen hours. I mean, as much as there is at currently, anytime there's like a parade or a major event or a street shutdown for something going down there, I'm just not doing it. I'm just not going there. If I'm going to the event, sure, I'll then grin and bear it. But if I like need to go anywhere near the area, I'm just like, nope, going smooth around that, because absolutely not. And I mean, some more commentary about the idea of RJ also saying Judge San Diego saying that just a Channel 7 interview, he's talking like Biden is coming, and Escobar is doing great work for El Paso. Again, there's speculation about that, what we talked about in the first segment, about the possibility of Biden coming to, okay, he said he will go to the border. Let me read that verbatim, what he said about it, and that in response to a question about where he go, that's my intention. We're working on the details now, when asked about any trips to the border in connection with his trip to Mexico City. So again, I think there's some speculation going on with it, but yeah, I'll believe it when I see it. Again, I'm of two minds of if there's new policy or something to be gained, he will show up in this section. If it's more of a, we are aware of this issue and dealing with it, I'm going to kind of guess he might go to a different section where there might be better optics, so to speak. James Holmes also asking, do you know how much was spent on the different committees to evaluate the project? Another money wasted project. They'll have nothing to show for it. I mean, there was that roughly $800,000, well, the most recent study that was actually given during the city council meeting. There were 2 items on it. Item 13 was the actual vote on the abandonment. Item 14, if you want to delve into a city council agenda, which I will do that. And so I appreciate these notes, which is why I'm giving them that way. I don't expect you to. Don't worry. I'm not giving you all homework. If I ever give you homework, I'll be very explicit about it. But if you want to, item 13 and 14, the one you want to look at from yesterday's agenda. And on there, 14 was this study that I was referencing that included some of those different project amounts coming from it. And yeah, that's the one, to my understanding, that cost that roughly $800,000. So, and as part of that, they also said that there was about 150 in change left out of the total project amounts, because there were some acquisitions. There were, of course, these kind of studies being put out, but there are also, I guess the question I would have is if were the legal costs, that because if you're wondering why did it take 10 years to get here? There have been legal cases, and there's even been some movement on well, maybe not movement, but other activities. There was a very interesting website that popped up that I'm missing the URL on at the moment, but calling out, let's just say, certain individuals from the perspective of this website anyway, of, wow, yeah, they're the problem. Though now that this vote has happened, I got to say, I wonder if I can find that website. If I find it, I'll make sure to mention it exactly. I've got it written down somewhere around here. Anyway, point is, that I'm not sure if that money also came out as part of it as well, the lawsuits and other things going on with it. So this money could go to something, but I guess the way that it was portrayed to me back in 2012, which I believe I voted in, we relocated back here to town at that point in time after coming back from college kind of thing, was we need a bigger event, we need a bigger a venue, possibly something in between, essentially Don Haskins and Sun Bowl. I even think I did some reporting on that in the interim afterwards about why there's this kind of dearth of things. One aspect that sticks in my mind is the idea about having like the NCAA, the March Madness tournament. Some of those events actually happen to happen here, like particularly like quarterfinals, that there is, once you dig into the technical documents at that point in time anyway, a minimum occupancy. It's the reason that essentially the Don Haskins Center couldn't host it, because it's not quite big enough. So the 15,000 would have been the mark to be shot for there. At least that's what I recall from some of the discussions at the time. Whether or not those are even still the requirements anymore is another factor entirely. But the idea of having that ability to expand the scope of what could be offered in town was one of the ways it was kind of really wanting to be kind of put forth. So if we're not able to achieve that, because even the biggest option that was put forth on City Council yesterday was about 12,000, kind of begs the question, is this really what is going to be needed in town? Sure, another venue, but it's not exactly like the Don Haskins is completely unavailable. There have a decent amount of events there, and of course the graduation season, but haven't heard it put the way about that there is no availability there. Kind of we need another venue to draw different sizes of things. That's why there's also going to be sometimes the Pan Am isn't a bigger one, but it's a different available one. We've got smaller, but not necessarily in between Don and Sun Bowl. Anyway, that's overdue for that break right now. Coming out of this break, we'll probably talk a little bit further about this, some more points being brought up there, but also more to be talked about whenever it comes to, policy we were kind of mentioning. There may be being laws needing to be passed, and the fact that they would have to go through Congress, that's looking right now. The ballot count so far, you may have heard about it already, but bears a little bit further discussion, particularly since there is Texas involvement in this kerfuffle within the halls of Congress. But we'll talk more about that after this next break, so stay tuned. More Talk El Paso after this brief break, and then back with it. Phone calls a little bit later, comments still going on, delve into those as appropriate, relevant, and or this sounds good. In any case, stay tuned. More Talk El Paso after this here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Don't go anywhere.
El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
Hello, everyone. This is Robert Olguin with your KFOX 14 News Update. Topping our news today, a man in his 30s has been hospitalized with severe injuries after a dog attack in central El Paso. According to the El Paso Fire Department, the attack involved multiple dogs, and it took place in the 2400 block of Wyoming. It happened this afternoon. No other information was immediately available. President Biden said today that he intends to visit the U.S.-Mexico border in connection with his meeting next week in Mexico City. That's my intention, is what Biden told reporters as he left an event in Kentucky today. Although it's not immediately clear where along the U.S. border Biden plans to make a visit, El Paso is a strong possibility, although no information has been confirmed by the White House. This has been your KFOX 14 News Update. I'm Robert Olguin.
News Radio 690. Traffic all day.
From the KFOX 14 Severe Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Brad Montgomery. Warmer temperatures for tomorrow. We're looking at highs around 65 degrees. We'll see south winds around 5 to 10 miles per hour. That warming trend going to continue as we work our way through the end of the week. High close to 70 degrees for your Friday with partly cloudy skies. It looks like we will cool things down just a little for the weekend with lower to mid 60s for your Saturday and for your Sunday. From the KFOX 14 Severe Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Brad Montgomery.
This report is sponsored by Compassion International. Drought, war, and rising food prices have doubled the number of families facing malnutrition. You can help. $50 provides a food kit to feed a family for a month. Just text the word radio to 97646.
Hi guys, it's Mark. Are you struggling with erectile dysfunction? Did you know that a major medical breakthrough is now available and it isn't a pill? Today, Wednesday, January 4th, we're running a one-day special you won't want to miss out on. Northbrook Medical Clinic uses the most powerful form of wave therapy. This is a technology clinically shown to repair blood vessels and improve blood flow. It's backed by 60 clinical studies, including from Cambridge. If you're ready to regain that spark in the bedroom, today is your day. Call us now and you'll qualify for the assessment and ultrasound totally free. You'll also get a gift that can produce rapid and powerful results in the bedroom in minutes. You're going to love that one, guys. Trust me. And today only, we're offering 5 tune-up treatments to our patients free. This is an unprecedented offer worth hundreds of dollars, but call today and qualify totally free. Call 915-529-9000. That's 915-529-9000. Guys, put a stop to your erectile dysfunction and get your life back. Call Northbrook Medical Clinic now to qualify. This offer ends today, Wednesday, 915-529-9000.
Save big store-wide at the Truckload event at Lowe's, happening now. For a limited time, get up to 50% off select tools and accessories. Shop the event in-store or online today. Valid 12/29 through 1/25 while supplies last. Selection varies by location. See Lowe's.com for details. This report is sponsored by Lowe's.
You can't help but look at a car wreck on the side of the road. Yet we turn a blind eye to the things we should be looking at.
What are we doing? It's not like we didn't know. We know. We are turning our eyes.
The Glenn Beck Program.
I have no tolerance anymore for people who say, I just can't look at it.
Listen and look.
You don't have that option.
Glenn Beck. Mornings at 7.
What can you do? Here's something you can do.
News Radio 690. KTSM.
Text and whatever. Just don't text and drive. Visit StopTextsStopWrecks.org. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I am your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social media pages we are up on these days, facebook.com/Talk El Paso, the Talk El Paso channel over on YouTube, Twitter at Talk El Paso, or twitch.tv, Andrew J. Polk. Yeah, there's a lot of comments that can come in there, but as being said at the moment, if you actually want to talk about the issues, this is the right place for you, the things that we're discussing. I mean, if you want to bring up other ones that also affect us in the borderland that are a part of it, I mean, yeah, there's a certain amount of, okay, this is connected, even if we start getting into the, well, will eventually affect us here. I mean, I'm willing to entertain it to an extent here. But again, just as a further kind of mention there, that if you're just here to beat up on other people and not actually talk about things, there's literally a million other places, more than a million other places. Let's just call it functionally infinite, because I'm never going to find them all in my lifetime. Places you can flame other people, just get into arguments for the sake of it. So if that's what you're interested in here, again, you decide you're excused from it here, be it if you actually want to talk about the things, which is our purpose. So it's destructive to that, I guess, is the best way to put it. Because, yeah, if you're not actually wanting to hear other people speak, just wanting to shout at them and then wait to speak again, no thanks, not what we're doing, and we're going to move on from that. Any case, some of the other comments coming in, including Angel Rueda, Happy New Year to you as well, and RJ saying the tunnel width is an issue at the Dawn, so those shows that went to the Pan Am last basketball tournament was CUSA, 2011 Memphis beat UTEP. Interesting way to put it there. I mean, yeah, there's the whole, what is the van, the truck, rather, minor vision that parks kind of at the back of the tunnel. It's not quite a lot of actual staging area is my understanding. I mean, I've been to some big-ish concerts there, but also think about it, you can only use half that space. Okay, the 2/3, let's be generous with it. So that's part of the consideration there. Remember speaking with some people in years past about the some of the concerts that have happened at, like, say, the actual McElligott Canyon Amphitheater. But part of the problem there is that it being entirely outdoor, you're putting your hands in, well, literally Providence at that point, because you have to expect the weather's going to be good. Now, the more than 300 days of sunshine every year that we get makes it a decent-ish bet. Well, better than, like, say, anything in Washington State, but you still, it's a bet. And people wanting to make money off of a tour often aren't necessarily interested in any kind of gambling entering to the equation in any way, shape, or form there. Anyway, so yes, and if you are actually talking about things that we are discussing here today, that's a good thing. And you can certainly keep doing that. And that's the kind of thing that we would want and encourage here. So if you're going to be doing that, hey, that works out and is literally what I said. But if it's not, that's when we start getting into it. Probative value outweighed by the prejudicial nature of the conversation is my sideways use of a legal term that I used in mock trial back in high school. Anyway, other thing going on here, of course, related to the whole border situation, some of the things, the data coming out end of the year, I just want to mention in this case about the El Paso DEA seized over 2 million fentanyl and fake pills in West Texas and New Mexico in 2022. The DEA announcing the seizure of about 50.6 million fentanyl-laced and fake prescription pills overall in the last calendar year, with, again, about 2.8 million of those being in the El Paso DEA division, which covers West Texas and the entire, state of New Mexico as part of it. So, yeah, I mean, there's the whole reason the one pill can kill campaign has been present in our area because, yeah, it's definitely a thing. And why buying off-brand stuff or stuff that you're not quite sure the provenance of is probably not a good idea. And there was also just 260 loose pounds of fentanyl, which is that's the real scary stuff, because that's where it can end up in being, and why I'm very much in favor of first responders of all stripes, be they specifically like medical, fire, EMS, or be it patrol officers, having Narcan with them, because that's the kind of thing where you touch it and you have OD'd. Okay, maybe not quite that extreme, but honestly, it can be, because stuff is so concentrated. So one of those aspects coming out about the whole border analysis, but also an interesting analysis coming out, as mentioned by our news partners there, from NMSU economics professor, says immigration could boost the economy. Now, this is an argument we've had sometimes, speaking specifically there with Chris Erickson, director of the Center for Border Economic Development at NMSU, saying that I think immigration in the long run is beneficial. Of course, it's very disruptive in the short run. It's disruptive for the people who are immigrating. It's disruptive for the communities who are receiving those immigrants. Yeah, I find that to be a more or less accurate statement, because, I mean, think about it. The reason that we have this impetus towards it, and the reason that there is kind of constantly a demand for it as well on this side of it, is because, yeah, you get better, more bang for your buck, so to speak. And then the whole, gray market system that people can find themselves into when it comes to the companies that we've heard previously raids about. We've talked about that we talked about that extensively in the past, but also, yeah, the short-term disruption, I don't think can actually, can be at all overlooked when it comes to the fact that we are still looking at emergency declarations in our area. But it's an interesting part of what could be brought up or be further analyzed as we see, again, that potential visit. I want to say, RJ said a little bit earlier that kind of speculating that Biden could go towards Nogales, potentially, as a kind of, again, the way I see it, either coming to El Paso as the hotspot, if he wants to kind of put his stamp on it, say, this is the policy we're going to deploy and solve this issue. If that would be, that's how I'd think of it anyway. If I was in anywhere a similar position, show up here and be like, no, we are going to fix this, if you've got the plan, wherewithal, and political capital that it takes. So that then dovetail and then maybe Nogales, if you're just wanting to say, no, we're here to get rid of the commentary about going to the border is we've been there finally. You can't say that we haven't been to the border anymore. If you want to get rid of that, I mean, sure, you did that, but is it substantive? No, but there's an argument about how all politics is that way. Anyway, the reason that I might say maybe not so much going to be looking to champion a policy agenda is given the continuing kerfuffle within the national legislature. At last check, I saw up to a 6th ballot now having been failed to elect a new Speaker of the House. And someone made a mention of it yesterday about there having been about mid-century a long time toward the new selection of a Speaker of the House. I still haven't found the the specific incident you're talking about there, but yeah, it's definitely been since 1923 that there's been more than one ballot anyway, even if the process took a while. So that is why I think that maybe not so much policy going to be the purpose of any potential Biden visit to our region or not, because with that still being, I mean, okay, there was a lot of speculation on what this next session of Congress could or could not do when it comes to the policy involving border security, immigration, any of these interconnected things. I mean, it being a Republican administration, not Republican administration, Republican control coming in, more likely to be focused on the border security aspects of it. And given bipartisanship is still a very much four-letter word. It wasn't exactly expect any grand deals to be struck, but they're, given the logjams we're already dealing with before we even really get to substantive work, and there being these, I don't know, intransigent is not quite the right phrase, but maybe it is. It was interesting to see, Texas Representative Dan Crenshaw on Twitter anyway, and some of the reporting, calling out other representatives, the 20 or so, that are getting more or less kind of, maybe not ganged up on, but mentioned a lot in these circumstances about why Kevin McCarthy, California representative, has not been able to continue his ascension anyway, because, yeah, that has been the logjam, because there was a thin enough majority as it was, those 5 seats, give or take, depending on how someone feels in a day. That was the, as Republicans control anyway, and so failing that, and anywhere near that, honestly, 20 is the legislature, the congressional legislature, as opposed to the Senate, being a little bit wider margins, still enough to throw the logjam into it. And apparently some interesting references going on to Hakeem Jeffries. Someone apparently did a Leroy Jenkins, for anyone who knows about that. If you know, you know, when it came to a reference to him. Anyway, point is that with policy, I am not going to say that, at the very least for this kind of a visit, that I would see Biden wanting to, okay, here's our policy thing, and this is what we're pushing through Congress, given that I think the narrative that's more or less being built up to will be about a dysfunctional Congress. At the very least, what's going on right now lends itself towards that, maybe a little bit closer to it. Anyway, your guess is as good as mine at this point. We'll see if we have a speaker by the House. I'll be happy-ish if we get one by the end of the week. At the very least, we'll have a little bit maybe clearer idea of if this session will be much substantive. Anyway, that's kind of some of the major topics going on today. But of course, as we do, we want to hear from you. We got some comments that have been going by, including RJ saying, so 200 to 500 million got in on the fentanyl front. Take off a zero there, but yes, still talking about tens of millions of fake pills. I mean, there was also 10,000 pounds of fentanyl powder across the U.S. that was seized in 2022, which is more than a little bit. But also his interesting anecdote there. Remember, police officer sticking his finger in a vat of LSD. It was never the same again from the 70s. Yeah, that kind of smacks similarly. I'll agree with you there. But let's go ahead and take that next break right now. Coming out of this break, we will go ahead and open up those phone lines. Of course, if you want to add on your 2 cents, and wow, they just filled up. Okay. If you want to squeeze on later, that number to call is 915-544-5876, 915-544-KTSM. Back after this break with more Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Stay tuned.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
An earlier crash on Gateway West at Lee Trevino is slowing traffic mainly on Lee Trevino as the right lane is blocked from an accident there. Gateway North at McCombs, police still dealing with an injury accident. It's stop and go still on Zaragoza northbound from the Loop to Rich Beam with 5-minute delays, and an injury accident George Dieter northbound at Vista del Sol. Carrie Edwards, El Paso traffic.
This report is brought to you by Positive Coaching Alliance. Got issues with youth or high school sports? Positive Coaching Alliance can help. PCA, a national nonprofit, offers more than 1,000 free online resources for youth and high school sports coaches, parents, students, and administrators. Visit PCADevZone.org.
An orthopedic surgeon makes understanding pain painless. It's the biggest frustration that patients have. This is Dr. Pamela Mehta talking about aches with unexpected origins. I see patients with pain in their knees, their hips, their back. Oftentimes, the pain is actually coming from their feet. Bet they aren't expecting to hear that.
Those patients are super surprised. They can't believe that the pain in their knee isn't coming from actually inside the knee. But if you think about it, the feet are the base to your whole body.
That's why she suggests personally fit arch supports. Emphasis on the personal fit.
If you get something basing it just on your shoe size, it isn't going to fit you properly.
And if it doesn't fit well, it probably won't work well.
Go get arch supports fitted to you. It's as easy as going into a Good Feet store.
You heard the doctor. Try Good Feet for yourself with a free fitting and test walk. Learn more at goodfeet.com.
Airway Boulevard at I-10.
On a busy construction site, things can be misinterpreted. Bring in the bulldozer can sound a lot like,
Building looks mediocre. Designs need a do-over.
or even,
Install a roller coaster? Okay.
be on the same page at every stage with Autodesk. From the designers to the field crew to the owner of the finished building, Autodesk Construction Cloud gives everyone clarity. Now, can we actually bring in the bulldozer?
Hey, Texas! This time of year is all about coming together and enjoying time-honored holiday traditions or starting your own. This winter, make sure your fellow Texans, especially those with a serious mental health condition, know how to stay informed and protected from increased COVID-19 risks associated with serious mental illness. Getting vaccinated is pro-Texan protection against COVID-19. Visit www.vaccines.gov/search to find a vaccine provider near you.
Staples Print and Marketing is committed to quality and printing perfect every time. Now at Staples, get $10 off your document printing and marketing materials order of $50 or more. Offer ends 2/11. See staples.com/store/printbig for details. Try Staples and see the difference.
News Radio 690 KTSM El Paso.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so. A lot of ways to interact with the program, particularly at this point during the show when we do have those phone lines open. If it's pretty immediately full here, it's kind of the status quo for the moment anyway. But if you want to squeeze on a little bit later, we will be taking those calls throughout the second hour as we usually do as well. 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. Yeah, a lot to be talked about there. A lot of comments coming in, a lot of those dropping those likes and reacts we do appreciate, including Amber Banda, Ed Clore, Ion Graham, Flaco Jimenez, Ida Beza Gardner, Robbie Flores, Monica Cervantes, and James Holmes. Appreciate that. And Ed Clore saying, after Nancy Pelosi, there should be no rush for a new speaker. Okay, I've seen this every time. Most recent times we've had presidential elections are essentially going along the lines of the reasoning of, listen, everyone, maybe we don't need to be with a speaker right now. We just need to figure out who we are ourselves on our own and, be single for a while. Don't have to go with the speaker. So if we can all just be cool, maybe we don't need a speaker for a minute. Is that the kind of reasoning I've seen that put forth? Like, maybe we just don't need a president for a while, guys. Everyone just be cool, and we can just be without it. It'll be fine. That kind of tongue-in-cheek reasoning, I feel like it's in the same vein, even if you didn't necessarily totally go that way. Eric von Holstein-Rathlow saying that all my favorite Congress critters are blocking the McCarthy appointment. This is how a constitutional republic works. I mean, it's not like against the rules. It's just not usually how it works. I do wonder how this, okay, assuming that McCarthy does end up getting the seat, I do wonder how this is going to bode for his time in that position and for the administration of Congress going forward. It's a very interesting picture, and yeah, I'm a noted person interested in interesting political pictures, so I'm about it. I'm here for it. I got to wonder what that's going to mean, like, in reality and legislatively. But yeah, we'll keep our eye on it. Anyway, let's get to at least a call or two on the lines here before we hit the top of the hour. We do have Ben on the east side here with us right now. Ben, thanks for joining us.
Hey, thank you, Andrew. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you as well. What's on your mind?
Yeah. In regards to the downtown arena,
Mm-hmm.
I want a new car, but I already have a car, and at this time, I've got more important things I need more at this time. Doesn't that make sense? Shouldn't that be the way our city government should be working right now? I mean, we've already got other venues to put on, different types of things during the year. And so wouldn't it be better to maybe invest in more police officers, fixing our streets, things that we really need?
I mean, I would say that there's, a level of reasoning with that, of course, here. I mean, this is coming out of some specific bond projects that were voted on, so wouldn't necessarily be something where it's taking away from those other priorities as opposed to, well, adding on more debt. I know has been certainly a part of the conversation. And again, I don't think necessarily even to put it out that this project is therefore dead, because fact of the matter is that these funds being reallocated outside of the downtown arena project, at the very least, some of the conversation being put out online anyway, so a little bit more concrete than just whispers, has been around the idea of, well, maybe we'll see a non-downtown arena. I mean, there have been conversations ever since there about, okay, Cohen isn't really a thing anymore, so now it's the whole water park at Camp Cohen, but the idea of putting it somewhere else, I think that conversation might be reignited. So I think TBD is essentially the non-satisfying but more concrete answer of what might be coming out of this vote from yesterday.
Yeah. Okay. These things I want to ask you. Do you think it's a good idea to create a group of news people so organizations can alert each other rapidly when they discover disinformation which threatens human life or disrupts democracy?
So I think I know what you're getting at here. And let me just say that there are plenty of things out there that exist that, well, or the concepts that exist, I should say, that sound good in theory, but don't necessarily bear out in reality, because mankind, I should say, in general, continues to not be angels. So the idea of, as we've seen in this day and age, where a, persuasive idea, even if not based in reality and all, can go around the world 5 times before you can blink kind of thing. The idea of countering that in some way is kind of important to me, but how to actually do that is another issue entirely, because a lot of those solutions end up going straight into, Ministry of Truth kind of territory about control of the information, which, as to an example, I can't even think of an example where that has worked out well.
Do you think that it would be a good idea to have real-time conversation of equals between news organizations and tech platforms about the evolving nature of harmful disinformation?
I mean, honestly, same kind of answer. I mean, the idea of, okay, if someone's putting out there particularly a harmful meme, like something that's literally like, hey, drink gasoline, it'll cure your acne and stuff like that. I mean, sure, there needs to be a level of, okay, we need to respond to this and prevent it from going out, kids doing it, that kind of thing. But in an open society, which the West does espouse to be in general, a control of information or how it's being disseminated needs to be handled with incredible care, if at all, because anytime you end up with okay, this sounds like a good idea, we should definitely do that, it then ends up, again, the whole men are not angels part of it ends up being okay, we got people doing, not good things with it in the long run, as using that same power for other things. So tell you what.
Two more points.
30 seconds.
Sharing insights and research on how audiences and users react to disinformation, thus informing best practice and supporting better digital literacy, and sharing information on engineering solutions for authentication of trusted news sources and improving the information environment.
I mean, in general, those are interesting concepts, but we got to take that end of the hour break here right now. So talk more about that after this break with more Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690 KTSM.
News on the hour and a half. Traffic and weather all day. News Radio 690 is KTSM AM El Paso, an iHeart radio station.
iHeartRadio Earth is here with little tips for a healthier planet. When dining out or shopping at the grocery store,
on day 2 of the 118th Congress, the House adjourned this afternoon after the 6th round of voting and will reconvene at 8 p.m. Eastern. Republicans remain deadlocked as a group of conservatives continue to deny Kevin McCarthy the votes needed to secure the speakership. Ukraine's President Zelensky says Russia is planning a major offensive against his country. Lisa Taylor has more.
Zelensky warned Ukrainian citizens of new mobilization processes that Russia is preparing. The president said the leaders of Russia will throw everything they have left and everyone they can muster to try to turn the tide of the war. Zelensky added Ukraine has to disrupt this, and the terrorists must lose. I'm Lisa Taylor.
The man behind the Varsity Blues college admissions cheating scandal is being sentenced to 3.5 years in federal prison. Rick Singer worked with celebrities, including Lori Loughlin and Felicity Huffman, to get corrupt school officials and coaches to admit their kids into prestigious universities. Singer was sentenced in U.S. District Court in Boston. Migrants keep pouring into the Florida Keys. Monroe County Sheriff Rick Ramsey says in a little more than an hour this morning, there were 4 arrivals, and he needs more resources.
I can't have them sitting on the side of the road. It's not fair. I can't have resources pulled up where I can't respond to other calls, or I have response times increased, or I don't have backup.
Since October, Coast Guard crews have intercepted more than 4,100 Cubans compared to 6,100 the entire 2022 fiscal year. That doesn't include migrants from other countries, including Haiti. TV personality Sharon Osbourne says the reason for her December hospitalization is still a mystery. Speaking on her show, Talk TV, Ozzy Osbourne's wife said it was a weird thing as she was filming and then suddenly passed out. You're listening to the latest from NBC News Radio. The new Omicron subvariant is the most contagious type of COVID you can get. That's according to the World Health Organization. However, it also notes that the variant known as XBB 1.5 doesn't seem to make people any sicker. The WHO's technical lead said its officials are concerned about the way it seems to be spreading in the northeastern U.S., doubling about every 2 weeks. Rail workers in the United Kingdom are walking out in an ongoing dispute over pay, conditions, and layoffs. In London, Sally Patterson reports.
Around half of Britain's railway lines are closed, with just 1/5 of services running. Union bosses have called on Prime Minister Rishi Sunak to step up to the plate and facilitate negotiations. The government, though, insists it cannot afford to give transport workers an inflation-busting pay rise. And it says the RMT union has been offered a fair pay deal. On Thursday, train drivers from the ASLEF union will also take to the streets. Sally Patterson, London.
The New Year's numbers are gone from one Times Square. Lisa G has more.
Barely 4 days into the new year, the 2023 7-foot-tall numerals above the Times Square ball have been taken down, while the almost 12,000-pound crystal-encrusted ball remains. According to the Times Square Alliance, the numbers were dismantled because of construction at One Times Square. Due to the numbers being a part of one of the world's most famous New Year's Eve celebrations, they're believed to be in a secure location.
Actor Dave Bautista says his exit from Marvel is a relief. Speaking to GQ magazine, Bautista said he's grateful he's played the role of Drax the Destroyer, but it wasn't pleasant and it was hard. He'll reprise Drax in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 in May and said it's his last time playing the role. Bautista said the makeup process was beating him down. Brian Shook, NBC News Radio.
Now your chance to win $1,000. Just enter this nationwide keyword on our website. GRAND. That's GRAND. Enter it now.
This report is sponsored by Progressive Insurance. Progressive Commercial Insurance flexes to fit your business needs, from quick repairs to adjustable coverages and even payment options. Progressive Commercial makes it easy to get what you need. Quote today in as little as 6 minutes at progressivecommercial.com.
Attend the Las Cruces Gun Show this weekend, January 7th and 8th at Las Cruces Convention Center, 680 East University Avenue, Las Cruces, New Mexico. See dealers selling the finest in modern guns, antique guns, custom knives, scopes, a huge selection of ammo, reloading supplies, and much more. Buy, sell, and trade at the Las Cruces Gun Show this weekend, January 7th and 8th at Las Cruces Convention Center, 680 East University Avenue, Las Cruces. Get $2 off admission. Go to azgunradio.com. Parking is free.
iHeartRadio Earth is here with little tips for a healthier planet. When dining out or shopping at the grocery store, ask for sustainable seafood. By choosing sustainable seafood, you can help reduce overfishing, bycatch, loss of top predators, illegal fishing, and other harmful environmental impacts. Brought to you by iHeartRadio Earth and the National Environmental Education Foundation. To find more tips for smarter, sustainable living, or to take action in your own community, go to iHeartRadio.com/Earth.
The Good Feet Store, improving people's lives 2 feet at a time.
Only the free iHeartRadio app gives you access to everything you love, from the stations that keep you company, the music that keeps you singing along, to the podcasts that keep you entertained. Not to mention chances to win cash and once-in-a-lifetime artist experiences only on the app. And it's always 100% free. Only iHeartRadio gives you access to the music, radio, and podcasts you love. Download it for free in the App Store.
iHeartRadio.
El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I am your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you very much for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social media pages we're up on these days, facebook.com/Talk El Paso, the Talk El Paso channel over on YouTube, Twitter at Talk El Paso, or twitch.tv, Andrew J. Polk. We mention all of those because, hey, knowing where you can go, it's not like a quiz. You're not going to have it. Maybe if we ever do one of those in-person things we keep threatening to, we'll have that. Name all the places that Talk El Paso was broadcast live online, but we're not going to require that for you right now. It's just useful to know where you can go to catch us, join the conversation, add the things onto it, because, yeah, that's what we're here for, to talk about the things affecting us here in the Borderland, have people involved in the discussion, because, I've sat in on other radio shows, listened to them where it's primarily, here's what I think, and that's the main thing you're going to do, and you're either going to agree with me or you're not getting on, that kind of thing. We want to get into those discussions as much as we can within 2 hours every day. It sounds like a good chunk of time, but we never quite get to everything that I want to in this, or really any of the other formats that we do here. So if you want to get on, we got the phone line open. It's full up at the moment. Again, that number to call is 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. And dropping those likes and reacts, we do appreciate. Matt Olson, Amber Vonda, Ed Clore, Ion Graham, Flaco Jimenez, Ida Veza Gardner, Robbie Flores, Monica Cervantes, and why did one fall off there? I think we do have James Holmes. If I didn't say that already, I do believe is the one I'm missing there. But again, if you want to get on the line, 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. Just to put a pin in, because we were running out of time at the end of the hour here, had to cut Ben a little bit short. But in answer to his question of the general ideas about how do you deal with disinformation in the 21st century, it's been a fascinating. So, as much as my generation has a lot of names ascribed to it, digital natives is one of the more interesting ones, the ones that grew up with technology in close enough to the format, or at least some of the concepts, social media, etc., as they are now, is interesting because, it used to be a don't believe everything you read on the internet and trust no strangers on the internet, and now, and yes, I'm stealing this joke, I will summon a stranger from the internet and get in their vehicle. That's the business model of Uber, and the way that it is, so much is this out there that, knowing trusted sources and actually being discussed them, I find is a very important thing there. And again, if you're opposed to discussion, you don't want people to talk about things. I would just have to point and ask, how's that worked out so far? Because people just saying, oh, well, I saw that online, must be true, and not talking to anyone about it, but integrating into themselves, I would have to say has not worked out. So if anything, we need more discussion about it. And yeah, even bringing the ideas of, well, I heard this online, what do you think about it? And coming down to based on what I know, knowledge, experiences, that would either be, there might be parts of it. the best lies have a, aspect of truth in them. Trying to suss that out is it's a modernly critical skill. But anyway, let's go back to those phone lines now. So to answer Ben's question, actually, before I get there, about should there be ways of dealing with it? Yes, but I find no good mechanism of dealing with it right now, because any of the, whether it be governmentally implemented, whether it be private, whether it be done by industry, just immediately runs into serious roadblocks. There might be AI solutions in the future, which has its own dystopian implications. Do not get me wrong, in the way that any chatbot AIs or things that are trained on the internet immediately go rogue and genocidal. Yeah, I've got concerns there too. Do not get me wrong. But governmentally, it ends up being start as we just want to make sure people have the right information, but then pretty quickly veers into and here is how we will then essentially control it. I mean, it makes it very fraught if not going through all the constitutional safeguards, which such a response doesn't necessarily lend itself to. But then if you're doing it privately, then it's a profit motive. I mean, for the most part, I haven't seen a really good non-profit group come up that's been yes, we are focused on this. I mean, I guess Firefox kind of, but even then, not really. It's a problem of the 21st century that we got to deal with. And so I haven't seen any. I mean, there have been ones that have been better than not, but no perfect solutions yet, I have to say. Anyway, let's go back to those phone lines now. 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. We do have Raul in the Northeastern line with us here right now. Raul, thanks for joining us.
Yeah. Hey, Andrew. Well, that's great news that the arena thing failed.
Mm-hmm.
Man, God, that was a long fight these people went through. And I hope another fight continues to get those proposals that included the ranked choice voting on there and, changes to campaign contribution requirements and laws. That would be a good thing, too. About Congress, now these are somewhat dated statistics, but I'm sure they're as valid today as they were a few years ago because it hasn't gotten any better, as we can see clearly. I had back several years ago a 72% disapproval rating. I bet it's even higher now. But what's really perplexing, though, is in spite of the fact that they got this 72% disapproval rating or worse, 97% of them are reelected,
Mm-hmm.
And at the same time, 80% of Americans believe Congress is causing serious harm to the country. Can you believe that? But again, on the other negative side, another negative side of it, 94% of the time, the candidate who gets the most money wins. How about that? That plutocracy thing works great for those plutocrats. They love it. And then here's another interesting thing. This was a popularity poll that was done a couple of years ago, and it said that Congress is less popular than cockroaches and colonoscopies.
Yep, pretty much.
Colonoscopies, Congress less popular than that? I've had a couple of those, and man, those are pretty unpleasant things. It's in the preamble of the Constitution that Congress's mandate is set forth, and I'd like to go over it briefly, and let's grade them. This is my grading anyway.
Okay.
So it says, number one is, we the people, in order to form a more perfect union. Well, let's go back to we the people. It's very unrepresentative, and it's very inequitable and disproportionate power for the wealthy and their corporations. And as you know, a lot of people don't vote. A third of the eligible voters didn't go for the last presidential election.
True.
In order to form so they get a D on that as far as I'm concerned. They're not really representative. Half of them are millionaires. A quarter of them are lawyers. Another quarter are entrepreneurs and business people. They don't look anything like the American public. Now, next thing is to form a more perfect union. Well, give me a break. They can't even organize themselves as Republicans. And again, it's a very, very divided country, very politically divided, financially divided, socially divided. And Congress is seen to be as ineffective and wasteful governance. And it doesn't have to be that way, but that's the way it's worked out so far. So I give them a D on that. Establish justice. Well, come on, there's always been a two-tier justice system. One for the people with money who can afford all kinds of lawyers and delaying things like Trump. And there's everybody else who couldn't, and either they're going to have to cop a plea, or get a court defender, a court-appointed defender. So that's justice, established justice. It's a joke. It's a D on there, too. Ensure domestic tranquility. Well, come on. Nobody's safe anywhere, anytime. Kids shot at school. Shoppers shot at Walmart. Church goers shot at church. Concert goers shot at the concert. No one is safe anywhere, anytime in America. And that's because of Congress and the NRA and the gun nuts. So ensure domestic tranquility. At best, I get a C, if not a D. Provide for the common defense. Now, there they do a pretty good job. They always spend more on the defense. There's never enough for the defense, But then and with all that money they spent on defense, it didn't keep 9/11 from happening, did it? Huh? And it didn't keep them from, Trump couldn't win the war in Afghanistan after 4 years, you know. He had 4 years to do it, but he couldn't do it with the world's most powerful military that we spend trillions on every year. So we get a C for the world's most powerful and expensive military and policemen in the world. Promote the general welfare. Too many people are poor in America, man. You know, 60% of Americans can't come up with $1,000 in case of an emergency. I was hearing a statistic. It takes about $130,000 for a family to afford to have a decent standard of living. The average family of four right now has got about $58,000. It's been going down for a long time, since Reagan's time, of cutting taxes for the rich and shifting the tax burden onto the working class. So they get a D for that. And last but not least, securing the blessings of liberty. Well, look at what happened on January 6th, man. We almost lost it right there. And you know, financially insecure people really aren't free. The really free ones are the ones who are born into wealth. Everybody else is going to have to work. Either work for Uncle Sam, work for the government, you know, work for private industry, or start your own business. But unless you're born like Ivanka Trump or, you know, or Mitt Romney or Nelson Rockefeller, well, then you're a wage slave labor for the most part. So as far as that, secure the blessings of liberty, I'd say a D. Overall, I'd give Congress a D.
Okay, interesting. So it's been previously, I was trying to look up the actual court case right now, but essentially the preamble of the Constitution is a thesis statement, the way you can look at it more modernly, and it's been ruled to be not an actionable part of the Constitution. Like, you can't point to that and there say, and that is why we are enacting this law, kind of thing. You have to go with the other parts of the Constitution that then actually enumerate the powers that are given to the, you know, federal legislature, branches of power, etc. But it's an interesting way that you posit there. I mean, I haven't put it this way, as an idea of is a report card for Congress here. And I finally found the study, the one that I mentioned so often. I did find this one, the Popularity of Congress. It's back from 2012. So, you know, take it with a grain of salt. But yeah, Congress's approval rating done by a New York Times and CBS October 2011 poll was actually less popular, or it was as popular as the then dictator of Venezuela, Hugo Chavez, and then by Rasmussen poll in 2011 of U.S. going communists was more popular than that, 11% of the whole U.S. going communists versus the popularity rating of Congress being at 9%. So, yeah, that was, I mean, that's been a problem for a minute. Again, in the whole thing I talk about, everyone hates Congress. Everyone loves their congressman in general. I'm not saying that anyone here has to love anyone, but I'm just saying that's the way the polling works out, because they do keep getting reelected. So this is not me saying that you have to do or love anyone in Congress, but I'm just saying in general, in the aggregate, in the way it actually is. I mean, hell, the IRS was more popular at that point in time than Congress. How backwards is that? So point is that actually looking at that as a report card, it's an interesting concept, even if I disagree with some of your reasoning you got going within the microcosm of that, because sure, there's different ways people can be expected to deal with that. I mean, you're securing your blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity is probably one of the more ephemeral and nebulous ones out of all of it, but I guess would be a very important one, you know, establishing a more perfect union, establishing justice, ensuring domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare. I mean, these are things that should be done and oftentimes don't get focused on it. I mean, I will also continue to agree with you on the idea that money being the controlling part of politics is, well, also backwards, because the idea that, I mean, it's not just the votes, but how much money you can get into getting the votes is, yeah, it's a problem, and one that I think the discussion is a part of a solution to, but I don't have anything essentially concrete right now, except for having people get in there that are more focused on, well, those priorities than not, which is, well, if you got any good solutions to that I think would actually be actionable, love to hear it. In any case, thanks for the point in the call. For what it's worth, we'll go ahead and take that next break right now. And coming out of this break, we'll talk more about the issues of affecting us here in the Borderland, more or less anyway, but also taking your calls. So again, that number to call if you want to get on the line is 915-544-5876, 915-544-KTSM. Back after this break with more Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Stay tuned.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
A crash northbound Joe Battle Boulevard before Vista del Sol at Paseo Nuevo Drive. Slow traffic on the 10 westbound from the Loop to the Patriot. It's an 8-minute delay. On the Spur, it's even slower, slowing down eastbound between Gateway and the Loop. It's an 11-minute delay. And a crash with injuries eastbound Montana Avenue at Limerick. Carrie Edwards, El Paso traffic.
Winning $1,000 incites all kinds of emotions.
Are you kidding? No way.
What to do with it is up to you.
We're going to Key West. That's it. What are you nuts? We're going to Atlantic City.
Listen for your chance to win $1,000 with inflation compensation.
Listen for your chance to win $1,000 every hour from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Enter the nationwide keyword at ktsmradio.com for your chance to win. Brought to you by Sunland Park, Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, where buying a car is fun.
This report is sponsored by Progressive Insurance. Progressive Commercial Insurance can protect your small business with over 30 coverage options, an easy-to-use mobile app, personalized discounts, and more. Get a quote in as little as 6 minutes at progressivecommercial.com. Discounts and coverage selections not available in all states or situations.
On a busy construction site, things can be misinterpreted. Bring in the bulldozer can sound a lot like
Building looks mediocre. Designs need a do-over.
or even
Install a roller coaster? Okay.
be on the same page at every stage with Autodesk. From the designers to the field crew to the owner of the finished building, Autodesk Construction Cloud gives everyone clarity. Now, can we actually bring in the bulldozer?
I never write reviews, but Navage is so amazing, I had to leave one. Nothing's ever cleared out my sinuses as well. I'm blown away by how Navage works. That's a review from Carrie, and it's one of over 100,000 online testimonials praising Navage. I'm Martin Hoke, the inventor of Navage Nasal Care, and I've talked about flushing out allergens, viruses, mucus, and germs. How Navage's powered suction can help you breathe better, and how your nose is the body's air filter, and Navage will clean it out. But don't take my word for it. What do people like Chad say, who wrote, Navage has helped clear out my nasal passages every single night. My wife says my snoring has gone way down. Snorefest be gone, unquote. Navage is the all-natural solution trusted by over 3 million customers to help you breathe better, sleep deeper, snore less, and stay healthier without drugs. Navage is available at Walmart, Walgreens, CVS, Rite Aid, Bed Bath, Target, and online. Navage, N-A-V-A-G-E. Clean nose, healthy life.
Hey, Texas! This time of year is all about coming together and enjoying time-honored holiday traditions or starting your own. This winter, make sure your fellow Texans, especially those with a serious mental health condition, know how to stay informed and protected from increased COVID-19 risks associated with serious mental illness. Getting vaccinated is pro-Texan protection against COVID-19. Visit www.vaccines.gov/search to find a vaccine provider near you.
Texting enrolls you into recurring automated text messages. Consent not required to purchase. Message and data rates may apply.
Hey, Dan, how you doing? Haven't seen you around the gym for a while.
Yeah, I've really fallen off. Since I turned 40, I just don't get the results I used to get.
Could be lower testosterone.
Lower T?
Yeah, I went through it a while back. Once you hit 40, your body has less free testosterone. I got Nugenix Total T, and it's made a huge difference for me.
I've seen that ad on TV. Is it for real?
Oh, yeah. The patented key ingredient is something called Testofen, which helps boost free and total testosterone levels to help you trim up and stay lean.
And it's made a difference for you?
Man, I feel like I'm in my 20s again, at work, in the gym, and in the bedroom.
Are they still giving out complimentary bottles for people to try it for themselves?
Yeah, you just need to send them a text.
Text HUNK to 42424 right now for your complimentary bottle of Nugenix Total T, the #1 selling testosterone booster at GNC. Plus, text now and we'll include a bottle of Nugenix Thermo, our most powerful fat incinerator ever, to help you get back into shape fast. Absolutely free. Text HUNK to 42424. That's HUNK to 42424.
News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I am your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live, streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social media pages, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch, either under Talk El Paso or Andrew J. Polk. On most of those here, finally found the site and source that I was looking at here. The 1908 case, Jacobson versus Massachusetts. The argument and the actual briefs filed in that one, saying that that while the Constitution's introductory paragraph, quote, indicates the general purposes for which the people ordained and established the Constitution, it has never been regarded as the source of any substantive power conferred on, end quote, the federal government. Instead, quote, such powers embrace only those expressly granted in the body of the Constitution, such as may be implied from those so granted. So essentially, yeah, the preamble is a mission statement, what we want to have done, and then the rest of the Constitution is how it can actually be achieved, and not well, it says it there, so therefore we should be able to do it, right? Because, yeah, there's a whole, spirit and letter argument to be had there, but, yeah, that's so 1908, the one site and source I can get there. So, again, still useful as an evaluative tool, I guess, the whole report card idea. I may want to look at that even further here. It might be a good way to kind of review end of terms kind of thing, but yeah, it can't be something that you actually say, well, it says that life, liberty, therefore you have to do what I say. It's no, you actually have to go through what the rest of the Constitution says. Anyway, and let's go back to the phone lines now. Again, that number to call, 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. We have Frankie and Messia on the line with us right now. Frankie, thanks for joining us.
All right, spoiler alert. Just heads up to everybody. An element of my comment is going to include a bit of Schadenfreude. I love that word. Now,
okay.
Back in the early 70s, there's this great movie, Patton, starring George C. Scott, playing George S. Patton, right? And Patton, in the movie, played by Scott, is on some ancient battlefield, and here's Patton, George, right, going on and the wonderment of war and how much he loves it. And so he says under his breath, or he's talking to by himself out there, he says, "Dear God, forgive me, but I love it so." That's what he said. And that's me right now today. Forget the God part. But I do love it so. What's happening right now in the House of Representatives and all those conservative kooks out there screwing up stuff. Now, having said that, this is serious, Andrew, and everybody else out there in the Southwest border region. This is not 1855, 1856, where you're going to go 2 months trying to find a speaker. This country cannot, in 2 months, waiting 2 months to fix what's going on. And these people are out screwing stuff around. This is ridiculous. That's number one. Number two, I don't know. I mean, all the Congress people are out there in Washington. I don't know if you can make a phone call to the great Veronica Escobar and ask her to call in from Washington and see what she says about that kind of stuff. That's my opening comment.
I mean, it's potential. I will freely admit, as much as we've had conversations with our congressional representation and the candidates, particularly in the lead up to the election, I think that's, well, we might have a call or two that we need to follow up on and see what they're saying. We got releases that do come out from them, but I'm just going to say not a lot of availability probably during these next few weeks, if only because of, getting this whole session started. I mean, there have been people who've been elected, including Gabe Vasquez, actually, the duration of this show. I got an email in from his office. He's the new representative for the Southern New Mexico district. That was his first day on the Hill, but he actually hasn't been sworn in yet because of this whole kerfuffle. So, yes, I will still be seeing what they are putting out there. I would love to talk with them, but I think availability might be a little bit tight even while this is going on, because they technically still have to keep going to the floor to make these votes happen.
Well, I hear what you're saying on that, but let me just end this call. Congratulations to your radio engineers, because yesterday and right now, I'm not hearing any static on the radio, right? Until at least 5:35. That's what happened yesterday. But just in case I get that stupid static again, can you keep me on the line?
I think we'll be able to keep you around on one of the other lines there, but otherwise, thank you for the point in the call. Do appreciate it.
All right. Thanks, Andrew.
All right, sure thing. And again, if you want to get on the line, do have availability right now. That number to call is 915-544-5876, 915-544-KTSM. And, okay, that clarifies it, actually. I realized because someone said, what was it, yesterday, about the 1956, but yeah, the 1856 speaker battle, as it was put there. Yeah, that is a notable one. So I didn't realize that we were missing the century being put there. Anyway, let's go ahead and take that next break right now. Coming out of this break, and Matt Olson, hashtag kerfuffle. I mean, it is a that's the best phrase I can think for it. I mean, anyone who says like, oh, well, our great traditions have been ruined or anything right now, the past and the way elections, congressional legislatures operated, I mean, there were literally fights, like fist fights, and like people bringing in canes to beat each other with on the floor of the House of Representatives in years past. So whatever you think the tradition and or history of it is, it's probably weirder than you know if you're just going off of what your concept of it is. So yeah, kerfuffle is what I'm definitely going to keep with in all of this. Any case, let's go ahead and take that next break now. Again, coming out of this break, back to the phone lines, back with the comments as well, including some interesting commentary on commentary. But the number to call again, 915-544-5876, 915-544-KTSM. Back after this break with more Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Stay tuned.
El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
Hello, everyone. This is Robert Olguin with your KFOX 14 news update. Topping our news today, a man in his 30s has been hospitalized with severe injuries after a dog attack in central El Paso. According to the El Paso Fire Department, the attack involved multiple dogs and it took place in the 2400 block of Wyoming. It happened this afternoon. No other information was immediately available. President Biden said today that he intends to visit the U.S.-Mexico border in connection with his meeting next week in Mexico City. That's my intention, is what Biden told reporters as he left an event in Kentucky today. Although it's not immediately clear where along the U.S. border Biden plans to make a visit, El Paso is a strong possibility, although no information has been confirmed by the White House. This has been your KFOX 14 news update. I'm Robert Olguin.
News Radio 690. Traffic all day.
An accident is slowing traffic northbound Joe Battle before Vista del Sol at Paseo Nuevo Drive. I-10 westbound is slow from the Loop over to the Patriot with 10-minute delays. On the Spur eastbound, it's slow with a 5-minute backup from the Gateway to the Loop. And Montana Avenue eastbound at Limerick, an injury accident there. Carrie Edwards, El Paso traffic.
From the KFOX 14 Severe Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Brad Montgomery. Warmer temperatures for tomorrow. We're looking at highs around 65 degrees. We'll see south winds around 5 to 10 miles per hour. That warming trend going to continue as we work our way through the end of the week. High close to 70 degrees for your Friday with partly cloudy skies. It looks like we will cool things down just a little for the weekend with lower to mid 60s for your Saturday and for your Sunday. From the KFOX 14 Severe Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Brad Montgomery.
This report is sponsored by Progressive Insurance. Progressive Commercial Insurance can protect your small business with over 30 coverage options, an easy-to-use mobile app, personalized discounts, and more. Get a quote in as little as 6 minutes at progressivecommercial.com. Discounts and coverage selections not available in all states or situations.
The Where Were You in 92 podcast brings you back to the year of big butt anthems, achy breaky hearts, and grunge. Take an audio trip back in time to relive the wildest, most eclectic, and controversial 12 months in music through interviews with critics, industry bigwigs, and the artists themselves.
Take me back to a magical time when music was magic, and I had completely burned that to the ground.
Listen to Where Were You in 92 on the iHeartRadio app or wherever you get your podcasts.
Attend the Las Cruces Gun Show this weekend, January 7th and 8th at Las Cruces Convention Center, 680 East University Avenue, Las Cruces, New Mexico. See dealers selling the finest in modern guns, antique guns, custom knives, scopes, a huge selection of ammo, reloading supplies, and much more. Buy, sell, and trade at the Las Cruces Gun Show this weekend, January 7th and 8th at Las Cruces Convention Center, 680 East University Avenue, Las Cruces. Get $2 off admission. Go to azgunradio.com. Parking is free.
Cash Blitz scratch tickets from the Texas Lottery are here. Play for a shot at top prizes from $5,000 to $1 million. Plus, enter to win a VIP iHeart trip and more at texaslottery.com.
Progressive Commercial Insurance can protect your small business with over 30 coverage options, an easy-to-use mobile app, personalized discounts, and more. Get a quote in as little as 6 minutes at progressivecommercial.com. Discounts and coverage selections not available in all states or situations. This report is sponsored by Progressive Insurance.
Standing up for what's right. Helping out when things go wrong. Seeking the truth and speaking our minds. Not just making records, but breaking them. Leading the way behind the camera, beyond the runway. and on the silver screen. Not just making our mark, but making a difference? Now that's a job for a Girl Scout. Girl Scouts, preparing girls for a lifetime of leadership.
News Radio 690 KTSM El Paso.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thanks for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social media pages we're up on these days. Not quite up on GoFundMe. Don't think we can quite do that, but some suggestions about fundraising for it being put up in the comments there. Again, if you want to chime in, facebook.com/Talk El Paso, the Talk El Paso channel over on YouTube, Twitter @Talk El Paso, or twitch.tv, Andrew J. Polk. Again, do what you will in your own free time here. But in the meantime, we'll be talking about the things that affect us here in the Borderland and getting more calls going on with that. Again, full up at the moment, but if you want to squeeze on the line, the number to do so is 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. Don't worry, we got enough lines to make it through the end of the show, even if other things are going on with them. Any issues going on with them, we try to let you know. Maybe had a scam call from someone at AT&T. Well, it's my boss's problem now because I give him his email. But in any case, I don't think it'll be an issue, and we'll still keep doing what we do. And it's the reason we have all those ways to get a hold of us. So, Marky Mandingo saying on the arena situation, thanks, Max Grossman. I mean, there's an argument to be made there that the reason this has been going on for the amount of time it has been, well, the lawsuits, among other things. So whether or not it would have been a good idea to have it gone through already or needs to be reevaluated, well, that's the situation we're in now. And a few other comments, including Stadium Hospital and a medical college, not a bad run, talking about some of our representation, I do think. So, interesting way to put it there as well. And, yeah, let's go ahead and get back to those phone lines now. We do have, who do we have? We have Pete on the east side with us right now. Pete, thanks for joining us.
Andrew, how you doing?
Doing all right there. What's on your mind?
Listen, I was going to ask you about this arena that's not going to be built. All that money that they all the lawsuits and everything. I guess the taxpayers got to get that, right?
Oh, yeah. That's been the factor along the way here, that they were lawsuits that were being participated in by the city of El Paso or related groups here. But, yeah, those were definitely coming out of public coffers is absolutely one of the upshots of it.
Yeah. Also, I have just one more question, and I was just wondering, since that new carry gun law that Abbott passed, are you ever going to maybe have a little segment about what it is? You know, the ruling. I know that there's just not you can carry it. There's other things that can happen if you carry one, where you can carry it. So I was just wondering if you could, maybe in the future, you could have something like that.
Certainly. I mean, yeah, we definitely did a decent amount of conversation about it when that was being, because that wasn't this most recent legislative session. Well, not the one we're about to be in here, but a previous one. And so there's been conversation about it previously. But I mean, you know, radio only stays around for as long as the airwaves are up. So, I mean, yeah, that's definitely something we could revisit and kind of give the revamp of. There are new Texas laws that have come into effect in 2023 as we are now. So there's probably a few other things we're going to wrap up with those as well. But we could do a refresher on what actually, you know, open constitutional carry, how you want to put it, is, well, what the actual factors of it are, because it is more or less permissive, but there are a few critical restrictions on it even then.
Yeah, so that's why I'm hoping maybe you can, you know, since we got new laws, but you can have some, you know, on your show in the future.
Yeah, fair enough.
Thank you very much, and happy New Year, Andrew.
To you as well. Appreciate the point in the call. You have a good one.
Thank you.
I mean, yeah, it's always a decent idea to review some of the big topics in conversation. So, all right, let me get back up to speed on that one because, okay, personally, I still go ahead and do the license to carry. Just had my renewal actually within the last number of months. It all blurs together. Anyway, so, I mean, yeah, if you want to be up on it, hey, if you're planning on carrying, I would very much recommend you do. But, hey, even if you don't want to. Just knowing what the specifics of the law here, because yes, in general, it makes it so that if there's no restrictions on you, you can carry, but there are some very specific like places that it is prohibited, the 30-06 and 30-07 signs around. So how those work, We got a few experts in town we've talked about previously. Maybe we'll dig one or two back up to talk about that. Let's get to another call on the line here. We do have Johnny over in Central right now. Johnny, thanks for joining us.
Yes, good afternoon. Yeah, I like to, I'm going to try to do like Raul does. I'm going to see if I can zip through stuff real quick. I like to compliment him and Frankie, by the way, because those gentlemen really bring up some nice issues and some things that are very concerning and some things I think about too. And they're very expert at it, getting it through and getting, you know, they're up against the clock when you have your time constraints, and I want to compliment them on that. So kudos to them. And I like the other gentlemen who on the other side who don't necessarily agree with them, Ben, and I think the other Andrew. So I like your cast of characters, Andrew. I'm going to start naming the El Paso city or public, and you're going to be the host. But anyway, let me get on.
Fair enough.
Talking about the arena, that was the main reason. I was upset when the thing came out some years ago too, and I voted against it because, you know, let's look at it like this: from UTEP all the way downtown, you have some type of building with a public event. I think UTEP was mentioned earlier, the Pan Am Center, and then like you, I was upset too when. Well, I don't know if you was upset, but I was upset when they tore down City Hall to build this baseball stadium, which I have not visited yet because I was upset over it. And I'm a veteran. I was angry when they tore down not tore down, but when they closed down the Beaumont Hospital and moved over to the new one, and then haven't even considered putting at least a VA hospital in there. So I get angry when they want to tear down or dismantle something at taxpayers' cost. And talking about the gentleman, this last gentleman that called, I think that the arena money should go back to us taxpayers, back into our pockets. I'm looking at my property tax I got to pay on the 31st of this month. I'm not happy about it. Your thoughts, Andrew?
I mean, so I don't know if on the last point there, if it could go like straight back into your pockets, because there are bonds that have been put out. So any of the money that has come with that was through, well, the sale of those bonds, essentially with the promise as the municipal issuer that they will pay it back at a rate later on. So that's why then individuals go out and buy those bonds. So I don't think that could go straight back because it's not even a part of the general fund tax rate. The budget that we talk about being passed by city council every year, it's not a part of that. It's part of the overall debt load that gets discussed. But yeah, I don't know if it can be just a straight refund. Essentially, it's a contract, a long-term deliverable that was agreed to upon by the people who bought the bonds. And I mean, sure, there's other market things that can happen. People can resell them. But essentially, at the end of it, they are guaranteed a return. That's how bonds work. So don't know if that one's going to be possible, but the idea of putting it into other projects and maybe taking up what would have been otherwise general fund expenses, I'm not going to hold my breath on that one either, because as much as there are different priorities and people may be saying even on city council that, well, we want to lower things, it tends to be if you got the money, you end up using it. And if there's money that can be given back, I mean, heck, there's not a person in a department that has a budget that I'm aware of that has not been making it, what's the right way to put it? You have to use your budget. And if you don't expect to get it anymore. So that given the way that is pretty well ingrained, I don't see that going away anytime soon. So point is that I don't think we'll see the money back, but well, we can hope and we can dream anyway. Otherwise,
Andrew, no, I knew that wasn't going to happen, but I'm just saying it would be nice. I know politics doesn't work that way, but that was just my thoughts, my prayer.
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying here, and I would guess I would like to see it's complicated. But to the further point there about Beaumont, I mean, I know that particular project cost, I think it was originally slated to be $1.4 billion, and there were tens, if not hundreds of millions of dollars of cost overruns that came along with that. So yeah, that was its own bitter kerfuffle there as well. And I think the intention is to make it a VA hospital. Well, that's another question entirely, because I mean, there's a whole process, but I mean that facility should stick around to my understanding, but again, yeah, more complicated there as well. Sorry if I sound distracted, having some technical issues on the back end that hopefully are not being too bad for anyone watching there online. But okay, then into the first part of it, the idea of the arena actually being moved there or what's going away. I guess I have to put this out there that the arena is not necessarily dead. Again, that's at least, I was trying to find the statement I saw online from at least one city rep, and that's essentially the way they put it, that it is, well, it's being reallocated, but that could mean that it gets put into arena somewhere else, somewhere that maybe there's more land available. So I wouldn't call this dead or done. I think the downtown part of it, yeah, that sounds pretty well done, but I don't think this issue is completely put to bed either.
Yeah, Coin Stadium was one was on my mind when it happened some years ago, and they turned it into a water park or something.
Yeah, of course.
But yeah, I thought the Coliseum would have been a good renovation or something. Like you say, anything but downtown, because of parking and all kind of issues. I don't hardly go down there much anymore unless I have to, because of those things.
I mean, yeah, I'll definitely agree with you there in general because, well, okay, I've gone down there. I have, plenty of good experiences there. But if anything like big is going on, I'm often like, oh, shoot, I forgot this was happening.
You're right. I'll get out of your way then and let you get to other callers. Thank you. Happy New Year.
Thank you. Happy New Year to you as well. Appreciate the point in the call. You have a good one.
You too.
All right. And with that, I think I'm just going to go ahead and take that next break right now. Make sure if everything's showing up on right online, that's good because it's looking a little bit messed up from this end. But we'll still, of course, keep doing the things that we do. Okay. Looks like it is going all right in some places, even though looks like it's well, maybe not. In any case, if you want to keep commenting, we'll be there. But let's go ahead and take that next break coming out. So we got coming up for you on the program and get closer to closing out the show. So stay tuned. More Talk El Paso after this break here on News Radio 690 KTSM. I am your host, Andrew J. Polk. So, yeah, don't maybe dealing with the monkeys and the wrenches in the back room here with the technical issues. But back after this break, definitely on air with more Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Don't go anywhere.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
An accident is slowing traffic northbound Joe Battle before Vista del Sol at Paseo Nuevo Drive. I-10 westbound is slow from the Loop over to the Patriot with 10-minute delays. On the Spur eastbound, it's slow with a 5-minute backup from the Gateway to the Loop. And Montana Avenue eastbound at Limerick, an injury accident there. Kerry Edwards, El Paso traffic.
This report is sponsored by Progressive Insurance. Progressive Commercial Insurance can protect your small business with over 30 coverage options, an easy-to-use mobile app, personalized discounts, and more. Get a quote in as little as 6 minutes at progressivecommercial.com. Discounts and coverage selections not available in all states or situations.
Being aware of the world around you is important.
When it comes to news, yes, I am.
So we're feeding your need to know 24/7 at the top and bottom of the hour.
I like to know what's going on in my locality, abroad.
Events of the world.
Fairly so. Yeah, I'm pretty connected.
Or down the street.
For the most part, I know what's going on.
I need to be aware and what to look out for, and I'm real cautious, so yeah, I need to have that.
It's what we do. News Radio 690 KTSM.
On a busy construction site, things can be misinterpreted. Bring in the bulldozer can sound a lot like
building looks mediocre. Designs need a do-over.
Or even
install a roller coaster? Okay.
Be on the same page at every stage with Autodesk, from the designers to the field crew to the owner of the finished building. Autodesk Construction Cloud gives everyone clarity. Now, can we actually bring in the bulldozer?
Recently, we hit the streets and found out how informed people really are.
Yes, I'm on top of events.
Most news, yes.
Except for these two.
I am not on top of events.
I'm not on top of my events, no.
They were clueless that every morning they can plug into the world with the news, weather, and traffic info that'll make their lives so much easier and more informed. Just like you and I do. Stay informed with El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
Hey, Texas! This time of year is all about coming together and enjoying time-honored holiday traditions or starting your own. This winter, Make sure your fellow Texans, especially those with a serious mental health condition, know how to stay informed and protected from increased COVID-19 risks associated with serious mental illness. Getting vaccinated is pro-Texan protection against COVID-19. Visit www.vaccines.gov/search to find a vaccine provider near you.
With an open channel,
I guess just try to keep channels open.
We welcome open-minded individuals.
I try to keep an open mind to all issues.
With open arms.
I think we need to always have our eyes open.
For open conversation. And when you open the iHeartRadio app, you open a whole new world. Wherever you are.
What should America do about immigration crisis?
I guess open the borders, but at the same time, check everyone that's coming in.
Open the gates.
A free download in the App Store or at ktsmradio.com.
Texting enrolls you into recurring automated text messages. Consent not required to purchase. Message and data rates may apply.
Hey, Dan, how you doing? Haven't seen you around the gym for a while.
Yeah, I've really fallen off. Since I turned 40, I just don't get the results I used to get.
Could be lower testosterone.
Lower T?
Yeah, I went through it a while back. Once you hit 40, your body has less free testosterone. I got Nugenix Total T, and it's made a huge difference for me.
I've seen that ad on TV. Is it for real?
Oh, yeah. The patented key ingredient is something called Testofen, which helps boost free and total testosterone levels to help you trim up and stay lean.
And it's made a difference for you?
Man, I feel like I'm in my 20s again, at work, in the gym, and in the bedroom.
Are they still giving out complimentary bottles for people to try it for themselves?
Yeah, you just need to send them a text.
Text HUNK to 42424 right now for your complimentary bottle of Nugenix Total T, the #1 selling testosterone booster at GNC. Plus, text now and we'll include a bottle of Nugenix Thermo, our most powerful fat incinerator ever, to help you get back into shape fast. Absolutely free. Text HUNK to 42424. That's HUNK to 42424.
Text and work. Text and pretend to work. Text and act surprised when someone calls you out for not working.
Who, me?
Text and whatever, just don't text and drive. Visit StopTextsStopWrecks.org. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk, and should be up in all those places that we put it there. If you're wanting to chime in, of course, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch are the places to find us. And again, all the video should be up there as well. Interesting commentary coming in, including Kerfuffle and RJ accusing me of going over to the dark side. And if I start doing, I think it's referring to Vader breathing, heavy breathing, watch out. Interesting way to put it there, but don't worry, back up. Weird technical glitch there for a second, but that's one of the reasons we're in all the places that we are. But okay, in the interim, while we were dealing with that in the break, finally found the site that I was mentioning there, the one that was, well, very targeted, shall we say. It's still up, though there have been no posts since, let me see here. Well, they said there was a new one posted as, oh no, that's December. Never mind. Most recent post was December 27th, actually, and was focused on the action that has happened earlier this week. Nothing new there, but yeah, it's freedowntownep.org. And, well, they say that it's hashtag FreeDowntownEP. And what is Free Downtown EP? They call it a social movement, jobs, entertainment, progress, and a hope has been kidnapped. The development of a multi-purpose arena has been delayed, and they list what they say is benefits for it, including giving hope to Segundo Barrio, which is an interesting way. But the real interesting part of this whole website is just scroll down a little bit further, and it says "Liberate Downtown." And I'm just going to quote directly from this website, freedowntownep.com. El Paso's Union Plaza has been deteriorating ever since an individual, Max Grossman, has held it captive in court. Litigation against the city of El Paso has left the buildings deserted. The reasoning to save a historic district has only led to an unhealthy and unsafe area for El Paso. It is in shackles, abducted by someone that claims to save history, only to see it worsened. Max does not care about El Paso. We urge you to join the cause and spread the truth. End quote. Now, I am quoting from this, but I'm just going to say I do not agree with it, because having spoken, even just other part of it, just having spoken with people who actually live in the area, including those with houses in the actual footprint, they were at least the ones I spoke with, I'm not saying I speak for the area by any means, they were not happy with the idea of being kicked out of their homes. And those particularly in the area, I mean, there were holes knocked in them. So I just going to say that I disagree with this characterization of it, with the way it was put forth. And it's very interesting that there has been nothing more said on this site, which does have a community blog where they were reposting like op-eds that were being put elsewhere. And let's just say I wouldn't be surprised if there wasn't action being taken about this, because, I mean, literally, they do say Max Grossman is, quote, a domestic threat who has kidnapped downtown El Paso. So I could see those being not even just fighting words, but, well, lawsuit words. In any case, yeah, it's definitely a bit of perspective from their aspect of it. But again, as there has not been the action taken by city council, I don't wonder if some of that may end up being moot, because, well, things are going to be moving on. That area will no longer be developed unless there is something else kind of action coming along there. And, well, let's just say we gave it the chance, we gave the part of it. If you're not going to come up with evidence and claims that you're making against me or others about their positions, you're going to find yourself removed from the page, and that's the last thing I'm going to say on that. That's going to about do it for us for today, because about out of time for this program. So other things that we got working on for you here. Still hoping to have the conversation, though we've got, ironically enough, logistical challenges, and talking about the state of logistics in general, because, yeah. Because, yeah, there's a lot going on when it comes to what's going on the roads, the way it actually takes things to get movement around, what that might be returned to, or what it might take to return to whatever normal looks like. And yeah, so that's at least part of it and what we'll keep talking about. But otherwise, that's going to do it for us on the program for today. Also, still visiting with our news partners there in coming weeks when they have less logistical challenges. They abound. It's the start of the year. We're getting back on track more or less as we usually do. So, of course, coming up later in the week, we will be doing the Free For All show on Friday as we usually do. But in any case, I want to say I appreciate everyone that did tune in, call in, comment, participate in the show. Because, well, for the most part, anyway, it's an important thing to make sure we're talking about the issues that affect us here in El Paso, and that is what we will continue to focus on. And if you're not interested in that, you can find welcome to excuse yourself from the page, but also if you're determined to derail that, you might find yourself excused anyway. In any case, we're going to end the show there for today. Well, until next time, as we are live every Monday through Friday, 4 to 6 p.m. Yes, it was Tuesday this week, but next week, definitely Monday through Friday. Stay safe out there. Look twice for motorcycles when out on the road, and have a great evening. We'll see you tomorrow.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
I-10 westbound at Trans Mountain, a semi is stalled in the right lane, blocking the right lane. Stay to the left. Border Highway eastbound, just before the 54 Gateway Patriot Exchange. An accident there with multiple vehicles up on the left shoulder. It's really slow on the Spur Liberty Expressway eastbound from the Gateway to the Loop. It's a 19-minute delay. And an injury accident just popped up westbound Alameda at Delta. Kerry Edwards, El Paso traffic.
Hi, guys. It's Mark. Are you struggling with erectile dysfunction? Did you know that a major medical breakthrough is now available and it isn't a pill? Today, Wednesday, January 4th, we're running a one-day special you won't want to miss out on. Northbrook Medical Clinic uses the most powerful form of wave therapy. This is a technology clinically shown to repair blood vessels and improve blood flow. It's backed by 60 clinical studies, including from Cambridge. If you're ready to regain that spark in the bedroom, today is your day. Call us now and you'll qualify for the assessment and ultrasound totally free. You'll also get a gift that can produce rapid and powerful results in the bedroom in minutes. You're going to love that one, guys. Trust me. And today only, we're offering 5 tune-up treatments to our patients free. This is an unprecedented offer worth hundreds of dollars, but call today and qualify totally free. Call 915-529-9000. That's 915-529-9000. Guys, put a stop to your erectile dysfunction and get your life back. Call Northbrook Medical Clinic now to qualify. This offer ends today, Wednesday, 915-529-9000.
Portions of the following program were pre-recorded.
Veterans, are you planning to file a VA disability claim? Get ready for a better way to file. The Decision Ready Claim Program gets you a decision within 30 days after it's submitted. That's just 30 days for the benefits and services you've earned. Talk to your accredited representative or go to www.benefits.va